Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawai'i Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawai'i Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawai'i Boss podcast crew listening in out there, wherever you listen in or you like to watch in, or wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or if you got to go on YouTube, you can check us out there. Great video content about businesses, and we're going to bosses' offices. We want to know the answers, and sometimes we have to go all the way around Oahu or Maui, and we're lucky we've got some folks here from Mana Up, Meli James and Brittany Hyde here with us. One of them's on Maui, I think it's Brittany, and Meli is on Oahu. And to the both of you from Mana Up, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, David.
You bet. So listen, Brittany, Meli, how Mana and Mana Up, there's a storefront. I see the beautiful stuff in the background, but there's something deeper. There's something behind what gets you up in the morning, and Mana Up sort of encapsulates it. Tell us your story.
Well, I'll start. I think Mana Up, the name is really, we know what Mana is, what Mana means, and it's, very, very, power-based and kind of the power of, or the energy from, there's lots of different definitions, but we really thought that Mana Up was a really neat, almost 21st century term that really means to level up. And so that's the basis for this whole initiative. And you're right, she and I are both, I'm in front of our store right in Waikiki, the House of Mana Up on Kalakaua Avenue at Royal Hawaiian Center. And Brittany's got a nice shot of inside our store. But the key kind of base for Mana Up is around economic development and how are we creating jobs, opportunities, sustainable livelihood for Hawaii by helping to build small business and fuel companies with resource, mentorship, access to capital to help them grow from right here in the islands and create different types of jobs as this world continues to change. And how do we broaden and diversify opportunities that are, leveraging tourism, but are not tied to tourism 100%. So that as we've seen hardcore with COVID happening, we went from the lowest unemployment to the highest. We actually saw a lot of our companies thriving. And these are companies in the consumer packaged goods industry. So these are products that are elevating the brand of Hawaii, that are based here in Hawaii. They have to be headquartered here. They have to be at 100,000 or more annual revenue. They have to want to scale globally and have to, again, be a CPG company that's in the food space, health and beauty, home, and retail. And so I'll kind of pause there for a second and let Brittany chime in and kind of start to share how we met and how this got started. But wanted to, really make sure we're kind of honing in on really where our focus is and why.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we started off as an accelerator program, and we have 63 companies that have gone through our accelerator program, and it's all around how do we match the right opportunities with the entrepreneurs at the stage that they're at.
So we launched the program in 2017. We started building, and Brittany and I met. I'm from Oahu, and she's met and married a Maui boy, and really moved back to the islands about 5 years ago. I moved home about 10 years ago, and it was really from a frustration standpoint around I wanted to move home after college and didn't feel like there was opportunity for me here, and so I thought, after 10 years of living in Silicon Valley, having started a couple of companies myself, how can I come back to Hawaii and help grow an innovation ecosystem, an entrepreneurial ecosystem? And a lot of it also for selfish reasons. We want to have smart people with neat opportunities that can come home, can come back home, can move here, all of the above, and just really create a thriving ecosystem. And so it was really fortuitous, us meeting each other right when we were both looking at like, what else, how do we broaden how we view what entrepreneurship and small business can mean for Hawaii? And how can we build something that can really fuel these ideas and entrepreneurs that are here and help them grow their businesses to 1 million, to 10 million, and what could that look like for Hawaii?
Right.
So, so
Let me ask a question. Let me ask
yeah.
a question there. So, you, there must be an impetus or reason with small business. Why small business? What does that provide for Hawaii and the growth in that area economically? What does that mean?
I think one of the key things about Mana Up and the small businesses we focus on is how do we really tie into businesses that are regenerative and are contributing to the community through jobs, economic development, community givebacks, and more.
Right, because in Hawaii, that's part of in order to gain from Hawaii, there's a give back requirement. There's a part of that. It just doesn't. You can't just come and eat and leave, right?
Exactly.
It's a participatory. You have to be engaged and in it for the long term.
And really, when you think about it, Hawaii was built on small business. It always was. And so as we look at businesses that can make sense to not only start here, but to stay here and thrive here, and especially for our initiative, we look at companies that are elevating the brand of Hawaii, and that Hawaii is part of their narrative, whether that be Aina-based, agriculture-based, culture-based, all of these different aspects of Hawaii as the brand is really a strength of ours. It's a competitive advantage and a regional strength that Hawaii has that can help create that leg up, because it is so hard to do business here. We are in the middle of the Pacific. Brittany and I, we were thinking about how are we going to formulate this initiative? What is that, again, strength that we can leverage and companies can leverage and double down on that can give them that leg up as they continue to build their business? And that really is the brand of Hawaii being one of the most recognized brands in the world.
Well, again, it's natural. I mean, again, when you go walk outside the door, I mean, Hawaii, and so anything that, so you see different, you can go on to Mana Up and see all the different companies that you guys support. How do they find out? How do people find out more about what you've done and sort of the footprint that you've already created?
Yeah, so we launched the company. Our first cohort was in 2018 in January. We did a call for applications, and there was pretty hardcore criteria. Some people thought we were crazy, saying, "Wow, people have to fit all these different things in order to get into your program." And we were surprised. We had over 100 applications. And with the criteria I mentioned earlier, it has to be a CPG product, over 100,000 annual revenue, headquartered in Hawaii, wanting to scale globally, good for export, good for online, like all these pieces. And so
those criteria were important because that lets you know that they were ready. They were in that space, ready to go for what you had for them next.
Absolutely. And we really built out the program specifically for these types of companies. We're not a general program. We're here to come and bring in, whether it be buyers or different people in legal that are really specific for CPG and products that are looking to scale globally. And that's been really the beauty of the accelerator. We are now about to announce our 7th cohort. So we've had 7 cohorts now. We started it at 12 weeks, and now it's a 6-month program. We got a lot of feedback from the entrepreneurs that it was like drinking from a fire hose. It's amazing resources, mentorship, and all this stuff that we were continuing to build in the program. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is all just so good. It's like almost like too much good stuff coming at you." Right. And so we decided to lengthen the program to 6 months. And that's been very game changing. So we now only do 1 cohort a year. We're about to announce our 7th cohort. We've had 63 companies come through. And we launched our House of Mana Up retail location in December of 2019, if you can imagine that, which was really perfect timing, kind of, not really. But anyway, it launched, and that's really supposed to be a showcase for these companies to share and test if a retail experience like this can make sense on Kalakaua Avenue. Our neighbors are Hermes and Tiffany, and a big part of the retail is around narrative. How do we create an opportunity to share these stories of Hawaii, deepen that understanding of Hawaii, and utilize all of these pieces that people are really looking for around authenticity, transparency, connection to culture to fuel these businesses to continue to grow globally?
Right, because again, I keep saying it, and Brittany, please respond. But again, the muumuu and the matching aloha shirt just is not the Hawaii anymore. People want to know about what the richness of the culture of Hawaii. Sorry, Brittany, go ahead.
I was just going to jump in and say, over the past 5 years, the other really cool thing that we've been able to do is tap into the value of the network and what are the key needs of these growing businesses in Hawaii. And so we've been able to develop out some of those key resources or match mentors such as, finance, HR, all of these growing pains that they have as they go from 100,000 to $1 million business and then $1 million business to, approaching 10 million in annual revenue.
Right.
And we can curate those resources and bring in new things. So one of our most recent endeavors is we launched a venture capital fund, and it's $6.3 million. And, there's not a lot of capital in our local environment here for companies. And so the very cool thing about it is that now that we have this capital available, all of our companies are starting to think, what else can I do? What else can I do to expand my business? Because there's capital available to do that. And I think that's really the key mindset shift we need to, move to is what can we do? What's possible? And how do we move towards that? Because, if we have a dream, we'll make it happen. And it's all about just putting the pieces together and finding out what can make it work.
But again, there is criteria. Again, so there's lots of different ideas. I'm sure you get different ideas that come at you, and maybe they're not ready for prime time.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good ideas and not so.
So how do you assist folks as they come to you?
It's not so much of the idea; it's more of the execution. Anyone can have an idea. So we more look at what's the customer feedback, what's the traction, what's the demonstration that this company is on the right track, rather than academically, is this possibly a good idea?
Right. Yeah, the proof's in the pudding.
There's lots of those.
Yeah, you have this. That's why you have that high criteria, because you've got to be able to see that there's some sort of track record that you can invest in.
Yep, exactly.
And so they have to be based here in Hawaii. What are some of the challenges, in this coming up the pandemic? Certainly, what are some of the and how did you help, or your organization right in the middle of the pandemic, trying to really lift off, but maybe you were able to be successful? How did you fare?
One of the biggest challenges for the companies was many of them are really tied to tourism. So a lot of their revenue were from, retail and tourist areas, which many of that shut down like immediately. And so I think, for a lot of companies, we had 10 million people coming here a year and they all wanted to buy stuff. And so that was for many companies, just this like low hanging fruit, just like being in all these stores and being able to move heavy amounts of inventory. So when the pandemic hit, it really shifted gears, but it forced many companies, some of which were a lot further along than others, to create their digital strategy, their online presence, and start to build out the strategies around having online sales and direct-to-consumer e-commerce. So that was, I think, a really exciting opportunity, a little silver lining that happened, where we do an economic impact report every year, and that's a big piece of what's happening? How is this industry so important for Hawaii? And so in 2020, and this is only cohorts 1 through 5, it's not including 6 or soon to be 7, did $40.3 million in revenue for the state of Hawaii. They also did $18 million in revenue from entities outside of Hawaii. So normally we would say exports, but it's not in the true definition of exports. It was people from the mainland, people international buying their products online or, purchasing products. So that's a really interesting number. When you think about tourism and you think about people flying here, that's where we create economic impact. We create those multipliers where there are new dollars coming into our state that are buying in our state that create those multipliers. Us as local people, as we buy here from the grocery store or here, obviously we want to support buying more local, but we also want the outside dollars. Right. And so it was really neat to see. I think 40% of our companies did over half of their revenue online prior to the pandemic. It's now 70%.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now, wow. So they can add on top of that now with the new returning revenue of the folks now coming into the market. So now it's been able to accelerate their growth.
Yes, exactly. And that's what's also exciting is not only one, did they increase their revenue during the pandemic, this is 2020, like thick of the pandemic. And 53% of them had their highest revenue ever. So not only did they shift gears, but they increase their revenue. And now, exactly to your point, David, now as tourism's coming back, it's going to grow even more. And that's just super exciting as we think about diversifying our economy. How are we creating industry that's not so tied to tourism, that is kind of, what's the word, like fortifying a little bit more around business here. And super exciting because the world loves Hawaii. It doesn't have to just be tied to the people who can physically come here every year.
Right. And go ahead, Brittany.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that of, really looking at digital marketing and how do we connect with people from all over the world. And the pandemic, forced us to look at that, but it was a really great thing because post-pandemic, just like you're mentioning, we not only have all of those new customers and we'll continue along that strategy, but now we also have that additional revenue of coming in person.
Now, are there headwinds though? There's cost, this silly thing called shipping, and there's temptation, I guess, a company based in Hawaii, but maybe some of the products aren't necessarily made in Hawaii. You have to sort of resource all these things around and sort of, it's just create this large network, but they have to have seems like they need to have a leg in Hawaii somehow, or some skin in the game, or they should.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, so we do require that the companies are headquartered here, and you're right, there are some heavy headwinds. There are some tailwinds happening right now, which I want to talk about as well. But
okay, good.
Yeah. So in terms of the headwinds, yes, and I think that's always been a mindset that we've had in Hawaii. Like, it's so hard to do business here. Oh, the price of paradise and all these things. And so I think that's been an area that we've also been working on around that mindset shift. That technology is a big piece of this that's leveled the playing field, whether that be logistics or e-com or, things like that are really shifting gears around where can business be successful and isn't required to be in a particular location or not. There are things we won't be able to get around as easily, right? So we do have to have things shipped in. Packaging is a challenge. It's a challenge for everyone. But the beauty also is around the brand of Hawaii. And 60% of our companies are sourcing an ingredient that's agriculture from Hawaii in their product mix. So that gets also exciting in that we look at, these are our food companies as well as our health and beauty companies that are sourcing a local ingredient in their product mix and in essence can command a higher price point because that's the unique differentiator. Obviously, everything grown in Hawaii has magical powers and people are going to pay for it, right? Of course.
Of
course.
Comes with sunshine as soon as you open the box.
Exactly. Hello. But so I think that's also been helpful for the companies, not only because it is expensive to do business here and we have to be able to command that higher price point, but as packaging and pricing shifts, that we are able to have a little bit of that buffer because people are willing to pay extra because it's Hawaii. And I think we're also starting to educate more on the consumers. People are flipping over the package. Who's the founder? What are the ingredients? Where is this actually from? People are getting on their phones. I just picked up my phone, but I have a green screen on. So anyway, people are picking up their phones, and then Instagram in moments can look up the company. Who's the founder? What do they stand for? Does this align with me? That's all like game changing because people are looking for micro brands. They're looking for these smaller companies. They're not just going for the tried and true legacy companies, and which was the case 10 or 15 years ago. So these are actually tailwinds, which is exciting because we've always talked about headwinds in Hawaii, but now we actually have some tailwinds that things are shifting from a global trend standpoint. And I think that's a big contributor to much of the success of the companies in Hawaii. But again, many of them needed those resources, mentorship, access to capital to leverage these global trends. So it's kind of a perfect storm right now. So we're really thrilled to be part of that and helping more of these entrepreneurs and founders and small businesses thrive here.
Awesome. As well as the power of the community. The amount that they learn from each other is really amazing as well. And so when we think about our programming, whether it be for our accelerator program or some other community initiatives that we do, we always think about how do we bring founders together and really generate the relationships and the conversations that will help them learn. Because what one challenge somebody's having right now, guaranteed somebody else has had that challenge recently and can help solve that. Maybe it's a problem with shipping. Maybe it's something on e-commerce. Maybe it's a question about how to work with a buyer, in the community at one of the local retailers. So, there's a lot that we also drive in value in just bringing the community together around entrepreneurs. and building that goodwill among the group.
Sure, and helping people understand, that your idea could become a business, something that would allow you to stay and live and work in Hawaii, but you don't know how to do it. And so there's many times people need this change of mindset. I think you've talked about it a little bit, Meli, where this is how we used to think, and it's sort of maybe obtuse, but then we open our eyes and we see a wider world of possibilities. Were you always that way, or was there a shift for both of you? Was there a shift where be in your career sometime where the open-mindedness provided a lot more opportunity? When did you find that and see that?
That's an interesting question. I think naturally, as I'll speak for myself, but as an entrepreneur, you have to be optimistic. You have to think. You really have to be able to take that leap, be risk tolerant, and so I think Brittany and I are both natural optimists, and we are that's an interesting idea. Let's do it. And right. We've had ideas that haven't worked. We've had many ideas that have, which is amazing just to see the development of Mana Up in the past 5 years. The fact that we have a venture fund now, we have a fulfillment center now, we have a store, we have an online store. Of course, we have the accelerator. We have just amazing things that continue to evolve and pivot. And so much of what we do is also translated into the entrepreneurs and the founders, that you have to believe that it's possible. Right. And I think that that's just a natural attribute that most entrepreneurs have. Britt, what about you?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, one of my big aha moments was I ended up moving to Washington, D.C., and I went to law school there. And I got these incredible experiences, both at the White House as well as in Congress, of seeing what's happening at a really national and global scale. And that was really inspirational for me, because you could see that there are so many passionate people who are ambitious and who are making it happen. And I saw these incredible things happen. But the other thing that happened was I met all these very smart people, and I ended up starting a company in DC right out of law school. And they really taught me about how to be an entrepreneur and how to prioritize, which I think is a very key part of being an entrepreneur, is knowing what's important to do. Some things, although, you may like that, drawer in the corner to be organized, that's not the priority right now. Right. That's the same example, but just, there are so many.
You have a junk drawer somewhere? Is that what you're telling us? You still have a drawer? Okay.
Many. But, there's definitely a key to prioritization and knowing what are the key activities that you're going to do to move your business forward and that are going to be most impactful. And, there are some activities where maybe, you do need to find time for that at some level. But it's all a matter of timing and prioritization and putting your resources where they're going to make the most impact, and your time and your energy. Yeah, we all have limited time and energy.
Yeah, that's one thing. You can't work 24 hours, and you can get burnt out working too much. Some of these IT startups and things, people are working 90, 100 hours a week and doing all this kind of stuff. But sometimes there's periods, I suppose, in any business where you have to put in the extra hours. I'm supposed you two have had to put in a few extra as you're trying to, because you're trying to prioritize, and there's sometimes things get in the way, and how to laser-like focus those things. How do you keep it all organized? I suppose digital and IT, how does that help you to keep, as an entrepreneur and entrepreneurs, how has that helped your group? And, at the advent
so kind of two questions there, right? One, which is around how do you not work 24 hours a day? And you just have to set your own personal boundaries. Meli and I both have personal lives, and we want to keep those personal lives. Right. And that's really important to our mental health and to our, ability to be leaders in our own organization. And so we, set our business hours, and most of the time we stick to those, but obviously there are a lot of times where they don't. And we're, have to occasionally put in nights or weekends or, during the holidays, we're working all the time, but we are very cognizant about the fact that it's very important to have a personal life, and we need to set limits. And I think that's a really important thing for any entrepreneur to think about is how do you maintain your own personal life? And going back to that prioritization question, really spend the time that you have dedicated for work on those key priorities. Anything else to add there, Meli?
No, drop the mic.
No, we do a pretty good job of balance.
No, we do. Yeah. And I think the other thing is, we don't give each other a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
You're always in alignment.
We're very
always
supportive. We're very supportive of each other. And I think the big part of that is trust. And so we both trust in each other's capabilities, and we trust. We always get things done when we need to get things done. And so there's always like this ebb and flow of intensity versus non. So
at the beginning was it a little less, or was it always just this sort of solid base you guys could, and then it's grown over time, or is it,
it's hard to say because I thought it was hard back then, but I think it's way harder now. So I don't know. Like sometimes I look back and say, wow, we really had it easy 3 years ago when we only had one thing going on. Mm-hmm. But it felt hard then, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess over time, true leaders and entrepreneurs develop the capacity to meet the scale of things that are happening in their lives, and it appears that the two of you have been able to do that. And it sounds like there's more and more and more coming. Where's the vision now? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? The question, Mana Up in 5.
Well, when we started Mana Up, we had this big vision to help grow 100 companies to be at 10 million or more in annual revenue. So what could $1 billion do and look like for Hawaii? And what would that look like from a jobs and opportunity standpoint? Mm-hmm. So it's not about the dollars and cents as much, but really around how can this industry really help Hawaii and grow and really make it happen, because it's working, it's growing. We've grown quite a bit in the last couple of years, and now we're at this wonderful inflection point of soon to have 75 companies having come through Mana Up, many of which will be over $1 million in revenue. Mm-hmm. And I think an exciting challenge that Brittany and I have is how are we developing out more programming for later stage companies? And it's amazing that all the companies that have come through Mana Up are still in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. They're all growing, and they're going to have new challenges. Being at 100,000 to $1 million is totally different than getting from $1 million to 10 million.
Sure.
And those are great challenges, but they're new ones. And how do we help build out those resources, mentorship network, et cetera, that are going to help propel these companies to get to that even next level? Because that next level is where it gets really interesting from a job standpoint. These are when the companies are recruiting, they're really establishing themselves and being a big contributions to our economy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their brand continues or not.
Yeah, at the beginning stages, you're just, the founder is all the roles, right? They're just, getting the product out the door and talking to customers and making sure that the customers like it and doing more product development. And you can hustle a lot, right? Getting, if you're under $1 million. Once you're starting to get to that $10 million mark, you're starting the foundation of the company. You have to put company values in place, systems in place, processes, a good management team and infrastructure. And these are all very new challenges from, all those years where, the founders just hustling and doing a lot of things themselves.
Right. So you're preparing sort of a stage 2 cohort program of sorts, maybe that's what it might
exactly.
Look like. Where,
exactly.
The different category, different bracket of folks that you want to start engaging in and look at, then hire, or not hire, different sort of executive resources, et cetera, C-suite type of sort of, really structuring things. But it sounds like you provide that guidance as well, or at least maybe it's not a business that you're involved in exactly. You provide other mentors for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see ourselves more as the community and the curator. Okay. Although we will do advising from time to time, but our primary role is curating the expertise and the community as well.
Right. Matchmakers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but the beauty of it is, we've had the program long enough that the founder hustler that was part of the Mana Up Accelerator is now into that stage 2. So it's not that we're getting new people coming into that stage. It's the same people.
Right. It's amazing. Well, listen, I think a lot more people need to know about you, and if they want to know more about you and get involved, what's their first step? How do they just jump online and say, I'm here, I kind of fit in your category? How do they find out more?
Yeah, so we do a call for applications every year. It's actually rolling. So if anyone has a consumer packaged goods company that they're looking to grow, they can absolutely apply to our Mana Up program. We also have a few other programs alongside partnerships that we have with Shopify as well as the YWCA. That's for companies that are a little bit earlier stage, and that's important to us as we develop pipeline for companies that are going to be, a fit a little bit later into Mana Up. So we're really trying to build up the earlier side as well as the later side.
So some
Other ways,
minor leagues over here, the majors over here. Is that what we're talking about?
yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay.
We just, we want to make sure that we're creating like the whole spectrum.
Sure.
But of course, the Mana Up program is the key piece to our initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Another way that people can contribute is we do corporate gifting. So as people want to support, they're doing their holiday gifting, they're doing their VIP gifting. Instead of buying from somewhere else on the mainland, they want to support local and bringing in, more dollars into our local companies. Please take a look at our houseofmanaup.com and our corporate gifting, or any of your individual gifting needs.
That's helpful because a lot of times, especially trying to resource something, from the mainland, or it looks good in the magazine, then you try and get it, and how long as it doesn't, but here we've got the folks making it for you. They're right here. You can go down and see it and know the people who are making it. That's part of what doing business in Hawaii is about, I think.
Yeah. And a big part of our program is around narrative. How are we telling the stories of these entrepreneurs alongside their products? How are we sharing and increasing that curiosity of Hawaii and things people may not know? And that's part of, our Kuleana as community here, is to continue to drive that authentic narrative and really or take back the way the world learns about Hawaii through local people here.
Well, if you guys aren't working hard, helping people make multi-million-dollar companies, what are you guys doing? What do you when time off, if you have any? Again, you said you got some balance. Where do we find you guys?
Oh, when we're not working?
Yeah.
Let's see. I like to swim in the ocean. I'm down by Kaimana Beach many times, going swimming by the windsock. But I'm also home playing with my silky chickens. I have 4 silky chickens at my house, and they are wonderful pets.
See, now that's your 4-H or something like that. You must have some chickens in your background. I don't know, but some of those are beautiful. They are the silky chickens. Those are. I don't know. Some people invest a lot of money in those, but
they do, and they love to snuggle. They're really cute.
And you should see the little house Meli built for them.
It's like a condo. It's like a
little condo. Yeah, they're styling.
Yeah.
How about you,
I'm
Brittany?
also a mom of 4, so I have kids 7, 6, 4, and 1. So they take up most of my time.
Well,
doing fun things with them.
You know what? It's amazing for people that are able to do all the things that you folks are doing, and then trying to help yourselves and help others, and creating this thing. It just matches Hawaii so much. It sounds like you're trying to integrate and just really dig in deep, put some roots down, and help Hawaii businesses put some real significant business roots down, so that they can have sustaining, not just a little corner shop, but they can have a sustaining, international company that tells the story of Hawaii. It's a beautiful thing. Any last words?
We really think there's a very strong future for this industry. So, there's always been resources around it. And so we've done, we've curated those resources and let people know. But I think the other big piece of it is, how do we bring attention and visibility to this industry too, and really feel it to be globally recognized. And that's really where our key focus is. And people love it. I mean, people, once they learn about our entrepreneurs, they are obsessed. They love the product, they love the story, they love the entrepreneur, they love everything about it. And so it tells us, keep doing it, keep growing, keep sharing it with more people. And
yeah, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, if it's working, you know, you see. It sounds like you're seeing the results. And Meli, you know, where do you see the value? End of day, you know, what gets you up out of bed for this?
I think it's kind of a long time, kind of full circle, you know, having grown up here and graduating from school and feeling like there wasn't a place for me here. That was a very big frustration, a very personal frustration for me. And feeling like, you know, I'm having a direct hand in building opportunity and interesting opportunity that more people like myself and others can be here and have a livelihood that can create a life that they want. And it doesn't have to be this price of paradise mentality that people have to give up so much to be back here. So that's very personal for me and a big reason why I get excited to get up every morning.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure to meet both of you, and I'm excited to see all of the companies, and hopefully we can get some of those bosses that are making some inroads and leveling up to level 2 here and come on the Hawaii Boss, and maybe we can figure out some things how they're doing it and their ideas. But it sounds like the two of you have helped them to create something wonderful in their lives, and it sounds like it's just going to continue to spread out and up, mana up. So to the both of you, aloha and thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawai'i Boss and follow us on social media at Hawai'i Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.